A geneticist had come from CU, had come through, I lived in Grand Junction and she lived here to see the boys because it was odd that we would have two sons with problems. And he saw both boys and his comment was, yes, they both have problems. I see nothing in common and I don't think it's genetic. And we're thinking, how could two women have two sons with these disabilities and there not be a connection?
Not knowing what was wrong with Kirk was very upsetting because there had been so many reasons maybe that he could be this way.
We didn't have a diagnosis until Craig was like 13 or 14. So we didn't know what was wrong. And I had so many different diagnoses for Craig.
Schizophrenic, severely autistic.
That he's mentally ill, hyperactive, has attention deficit disorder. So when they were diagnosed, it was like, oh, we didn't do anything wrong. There's a reason for this.
An acquaintance called about 10 o'clock one night and said that she had been at a conference in Denver and there was a doctor from Children's Hospital that gave all the symptoms and all that of Fragile X. And she says, I know this is what Kirk's got.
So we had both of them tested, and sure enough, they had Fragile X syndrome, which had just been identified within the last 3 or 4 years of that diagnosis. So it was fairly new.
My husband and I were so excited to have a diagnosis because we had been told any number of things.
You want a concrete reason for something. But on the other hand, as happy as we were with the diagnosis, it was pretty devastating when you think you're a carrier of something and that you pass that on to your child. That was hard. I can remember looking at all the DNA data and seeing all that, thinking, oh my gosh, what have I done?
We were trying to come up with a living arrangement for Kirk and Craig, and Cheyenne Village came up with the Companion Home Project.
Jeannie and I were really adamant that we wanted the right situation.
Nancy was working with them in Manitou, and Betsy and I kept saying, we want Nancy, we want Nancy.
When I first accepted this job, I was a wee bit concerned.
Craig had, he just was aggressive, and that was a worry. He just didn't have impulse control.
And so when I first moved in here, I was very concerned about, if it was going to work or not. And the change in Craig was amazing, absolutely amazing.
At the beginning, it was like, oh gosh, is this going to work? I hope this works. From the very beginning, it's worked. There's never been a time when I've thought he's unhappy or I need to pull him out, we need to think of something else. Never.
It's worked out wonderful because one side is Nancy's apartment and they can only go in there if they're given permission, and the guys have their own apartment.
It's their kitchen and their TV room and their sofa, and they'd never had that before. Not that they missed it, but I think that added a different element to living here, a little more ownership.
They've come a long ways since we've been living here. I mean, a really long ways.
It's so much easier when it's your home and you have ownership in it to take over chores and, help out.
Craig has learned to keep his own room clean. He vacuums the family room here. He'll help empty the dishwasher at night from breakfast.
Helps Nancy weed and cut branches and, bushes and stuff. So they're invested in this home.
Kirk, he cleans his own bedroom. He dusts. He does his own laundry.
I think for Kirk, shaving was really big. And I know this is so trite, but making coffee. It's real important to them. It's kind of a ritual with them that they can make coffee.
The difference is just, it's a home. It's not just where they live now. It's not just a room. It's their home, and they take pride in their home.
I love this house. This place is big and it's like a house to all three of us.
So no, give me this home.
You just see the happiness here. You just The music is playing, it smells good, Nancy's fixing something.
This is Kirk's home now. He used to never want to leave our home when he'd come home and visit, but now he's fine with it, and he'll say, well, when are you going to come to my place? And that is so neat.
When you're the parent of a handicapped child, you almost don't want to look ahead because it's frightening. You don't want to think about, gosh, number one, where is he going to end up living? Will he be happy? Will he have opportunities? You know, that's frightening. And I think Craig going into Cheyenne Village answered a lot of that. You know, I don't have those fears like I did.
They're always there for you. You know, just if you've got a problem, there's always somebody to go to.
I just think a lot of times that this population is lost and that people aren't aware of their needs. You know, you see somebody on the street who might act a little different, and that would be my son or my nephew. And you never go beyond wondering, well, where do they live? How do they live? What's comfortable for them? And Cheyenne Village gives them an opportunity to have a life.
They do everything that they can to fulfill their clients' needs and make them know that they are a person that is cared for, a worthwhile human being.
I think it's real important when you have a child with developmental disabilities and you're an aging parent that you feel secure in where they live, their safety, and knowing that there's a future for them when you're not there. People who care, and I feel that way about Cheyenne Village. I know that they would only do the best for Craig, and places like this are so important, and donating is so important, you know, for the future of Cheyenne Village.
It's so important for people to give to Cheyenne Village because of the programs they have. And in order to keep the programs going, they have to have funding. And they have helped my sister and I and our guys so much that it is just very important to keep places like Friendship, the companion home, going, and maybe start other companion homes.